Okay, it is now 7:07. Let's call this meeting to order. Secretary, call the attendance, please.
Andy Kirk.
Here.
Debbie Schmoden.
Here.
Jack Lombardi.
Here.
Greg Tria. Here. Reginald Allen.
Yes.
Melanie Baker.
Yes.
Art Jackson. Art Jackson. Art Jackson not here.
No, Mr. Jackson is not here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see. Let's, before my opening remarks, let's go to the approval of the December 17th minutes. Secretary, you want to read the minutes out?
The issue of squatters at 9265 Dundee was discussed again. Cam recommends moving the issue to the attorney. The need to have a personal inspection of the waterways was discussed. The need to have an engineer inspect the easements and waterways was discussed. The fact that the security contract had been signed was offered by the chairman of security. The issues of paperwork for covenants enforcement was discussed with the CAM and other directors. The desire for a new survey was discussed, and directors were given 2 weeks to hand in suggestions. The agenda item to approve the minutes from 11/19/2015 Board of Directors meeting was discussed. A motion to accept the minutes as written was offered by Debbie Schmogi, seconded by Jack Lombardi. A vote was called with Andy Kirk, Debbie Schmogi, Jack Lombardi, Art Jackson, Millie Baker, Reginald Allen, Greg Tria voting yes. This motion passed 7-0. The item to have WLR perform accounting work needed was discussed. The fact that the HOA has had reviewed returns versus compiled returns was discussed. A motion to use WLR for accounting services, including end-of-year work as well as tax filing, was offered by Debbie Schmogi and seconded by Jack Lombardi. A vote was called with Andy Kirk, Debbie Schmogi, Jack Lombardi, Art Jackson, Reginald Allen, Melanie Baker, Greg Tria voting yes. This motion passed 7-0. The item to approve new members of the Finance Committee was discussed. A motion to appoint Janet Duncan and William Bernstein was offered by Greg Tria and seconded by Jack Lombardi. A vote was called with Andy Kirk, Debbie Schmogi, Jack Lombardi, Reginald Allen, Greg Tria voting yes, and Art Jackson and Melanie Baker voting no. This motion passed 5-2. The item to attempt vulture mitigation was raised. It was generally agreed that the vultures are causing damage to community property and that we need to take some action. During the discussion, it was made known that immediate neighbors of the property that have pets may object to any attempt to scare the vultures with loud sounds. It was determined that a less ambitious approach be taken initially. A motion to purchase a single handheld bird bagger was offered by Greg Tria and seconded by Reginald Allen. A vote was called with Andy Kirk, Debbie Schmogi, Jack Lombardi, Art Jackson, Melanie Baker, Reginald Allen, and Greg Tria voting yes. This motion passed 7-0. A motion to adjourn was offered by Melanie Baker, seconded by Jack Lombardi. A vote was called with Andy Kirk, Debbie Schmogi, Jack Lombardi, Melanie Baker, Art Jackson, Reginald Allen, Greg Tria voting yes. This motion passed at 8:35.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody want to motion to accept the minutes as written?
I make a motion.
I'll make the motion, please, to approve the minutes of the December 17th meeting as read.
Okay, I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none from the community? None. Call the vote.
Melanie Baker,
Yes.
Reginald Allen, Greg Tria votes yes. Jack Lombardi,
Yes.
Debbie Schmogi,
Yes.
Andy Kirk.
Yes.
Motion passes
All right.
6-0.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Tonight's agenda really consists primarily of committee reports and updates. One of the updates is that we've determined that 30 of the ARC fees that were collected improperly from January 1 to 2009, totaling $3,000 in refunds. We've established that that's the case, and we have since cut the checks. We budgeted $3,100 for it last year. For this year, reimbursement, so we have the money, and we cut the checks, and those will be going out to the mail probably tomorrow. Let's see. I did have one request that was outside of the threshold time frame that we all agreed on by a motion on the July meeting, I think it was. And I am prepared to deny that because it is outside of that threshold time cutoff. It's, what was it, how many years old was it, Jim?
What do you mean?
11? No, 10 years old. It was 10 years now. Or let's call it 9.5 years. So it's beyond the threshold time frame. So unless the board feels otherwise, I'm just going to deny that. It'll be the only one that has requested reimbursement that will be denied. Okay?
So it's 30 in total.
30 in total for $3,000 in refunds. Well within the 3,100 budget. Okay, let's see, 6877 West Calumet is in foreclosure, and the sale of the property is set for auction on February 23rd, 2016, and it's still a good date, still set as such. And 6725 West Kendall Circle, over in Greenbrier, is the house that we currently have a lawsuit on, and we have a special hearing tomorrow in court that our attorney will be attending. So they're attempting to get it dismissed, and we have special hearings.
What was that address on West Calumet? Did you say it's in the court?
6877 West Calumet.
I'm sorry, one more time.
6877.
So it's going to public auction?
Yes.
When is that? Andy, what's the date?
The date on that is February 23rd, 2016. Okay? All right. And that's it for my quick opening remarks and updates. Manager's report, please.
The ARC approved paint for Lot 9 in St. Andrews, and also approved landscape and sprinkler plans for Lot 22 in Lexington. That's new home construction. Regarding many of the residents who were notified to clean the roofs and driveways, there were 16, I believe, and 14 of them had done that. The others were waiting on. The debris volume has decreased dramatically.
Jim, could you just speak up a little bit?
And,
I can't hear you back. Just speak up a little bit.
And do you have a agenda?
yes, but I can't hear you.
Well, it's, what I'm reading is from the agenda. Well, I'm going to stand here and read it for you.
Good,
Okay.
thank you.
The ARC approved exterior paint for Lot 9 St. Andrews. Landscape plans for Lot 16 St. Andrews is also approved. Landscape and sprinkler plans were approved for Lot 22B Lexington. Many of the residents who were notified to clean roof driveways have complied, while others are waiting vendor lines. Debris volume continues to decrease. Roof and driveway cleaning is fluid, hence additional members will be notified to take corrective measures in this regard.
Okay, thank you. Financial report, Jack?
Debbie's going to read it for me.
Debbie?
In financial report, the cash balance operating account is $64,529.40 as of December 31st, 2015. The cash balance reserve account is at $113,499.57 as of December 31st, 2015. And the checkbook balance is at $95,045.12 as of January 6, 2016. The foreclosures are $1,831.83.
Okay. And are there any issues that the board needs to be aware of? I mean, good financial health at this point, everything on target?
Financially, yes, I'm going to wait till my audit report to give the rest.
Yes, okay, okay. All right, before we get into the committees, I'm going to jump to unfinished business and just ask for an update on the vulture issue. I'm doing it because Melanie has to leave early, and she wanted that to be brought up. She has some recommendations there. So if you can just give us an update where we are with the cannons.
Well, we didn't approve the cannons, we only approved the handgun. We're waiting for the handgun to be sent to us. There's a background check apparently for purchasing a bird banger.
Okay.
But it's also come to my attention that we have some concern from some members about the types of birds that we have on the island. So I have called back the nuisance wildlife ranges to come back and give us another look to see if he will go into the island for us and give us a list of what it is that's living there, bird-wise, other animal-wise, so that we don't do anything that may, harm the birds that we like.
Okay, so
And
you
also see if there's anything that, he can do other than that to keep
Selling
the,
tickets for that one.
yeah,
the handgun is on order,
yeah.
so that's on order, so we'll have that anyway, just in case we need it. But you're gonna take a pause, you're recommending we just pause on the use of that gun at this point, okay?
Let him get in here, because I've heard from several members, and Jim has expressed to me that there are some concerns about some favorable birds that are in the
That's
island,
the reason you're pausing it, okay.
that we want to see if there's a way we can protect them from being dissuaded to live here, like we want to dissuade the vultures.
One of the things we're considering also,
Tweet bird.
Please don't leave.
Right.
one of the things we're also considering is, as we go through the governing documents, and we go through the articles now and through the bylaws, so we're embarking on the covenants, hope to finish that up in the next week or two. And one of the things we were considering is approving some type of enclosure for the garbage cans. So, that way at least they won't have a place to feed, they can't get into those if they're getting into the garbage cans without covers. Maybe people around the lake here, around this area here, they might want to do that. Right now, it's against our covenants to have any temporary buildings. So a little enclosure may be the thing to approve. Melanie?
Yeah,
I'll be shooting like this.
one day I was thinking about the issue with the vultures and the animals that they disturb. Not just the good birds, but dogs, cats, horses. If we chase them from here and they go to Janet's house and you have to use the gun over there, it may spook her horses. So the idea that I came to was perhaps the committee could look into and research maybe a drum. Quiet, we can get them out of there, don't know. There's a drum that'll go 10,000 feet, fly 60 miles per hour. You'd have to research the, specifics to it.
So you can kind of like chase them around?
Well,
Because I would be all over that.
that's what,
I mean,
that's what we're gonna be
remote
doing.
control, can I do it from my phone,
Yeah.
from my house? Because I don't,
Yes,
oh, there's one there.
there you go.
So I was driving by your house.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Let me
You
tell you a
can
story.
buzz by my house, buzz the tower.
I can make a comment about it.
Wait, do you
I
want
thought
me
it
to
was a
bust
great
it down?
idea.
Because if you want a new one, I'll do that too.
Jack?
My son came over, and he's not specialist, but he flies a lot of remote control planes. And I said something to him about that when he was on my driveway with it. He took off from my driveway and headed towards the island, went into the backyard, and the birds, I was telling Jim about it actually, the birds started dive bombing the plane. No, they really did. He was running and the birds were running after him, and he finally got it back down before they took it out of the sky.
Maybe you do need the 60 miles per hour drum. Maybe we need the big drum.
No, I'm just telling you the experience we had. They actually went after it. I was shocked as could be. I couldn't believe it. And
Well, I'm sure they
of
think
course,
it's
later it
a
turned out to be funny, but at the time,
Yeah.
this was a big plane, and he twice the size of the birds, and they just started diving at it. They started trying to knock it out of the sky. Crazy.
Is it a trade of theirs to be territorial?
Well, it's funny because in the research I've looked at, they won't eat, everybody's always afraid they're going to eat the animal. They won't touch an animal unless it's dead.
Right.
Or close to it.
They won't come and take a little puppy, they won't come, they don't even go after the rats or the field mice. But, they won't hurt the animal. If it dies, it's gone in an hour. But, that was the experience we had with the plane. I was like, he was so happy to get it back on the ground. That's how serious he got with those birds.
Really?
Yeah, I was shocked.
In your research, have you come across any eradication attempts with any remote control flying devices like that?
No, Matter of fact, I've really, at this point between me and Greg, we must have spent what, an Allison, maybe 7, 8 months going through the computer, running to each other, all excited, and, hey, this might work, and this might work. And it was funny, we found out about the cannons and stuff from the airports first, that's where I originally found out about it, but we went on a lead from the fireworks guy down here. We were gonna buy a case of M80s and just do this. And,
What? That doesn't sound good.
no, but when we did this, and I called him for it, he says, well, first of all, I can't sell them to you. He says, because I'm strong in a firecracker device.
St. Patrick's
He
Day
said,
party
you
outside.
can go online and buy what the airports use and the malls use, this type of stuff. But he said, there are specialists that rent these cannons. And that's what started us on the search. And everywhere we went, and everybody we talked, because there's a lot of manufacturers. This is a major problem, not even Shamrock alone.
Right.
There's whole community trying to get rid of these things, because they're destroying homes and property. And we found out that everywhere we went, cannons work. It's uncomfortable, it's noisy, it's a pain in the butt for 2 or 3 weeks. But once you just remove the roosting, the reason for the pistols was, once they flock, you're correct, they're gonna flock somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen pictures of your house the other day. But it was,
Yeah, he just
they
showed
showed
me.
it, and it was crazy. And,
Go on.
But the pistols are so
Ours
heavy.
house, too.
and the cannon is portable. So, even with the birds, the other birds that people are saying we want to protect, hey, listen, I got the best view in town of those birds. I love them. But that's why we came up with the concept. We've been watching these things, we've been timing them. These birds get up way before the blackbirds wake up. So if we time our schedule, we probably won't hardly disturb the white birds whatsoever. The only time we will disturb them is at night as dusk comes in, because they both come in together at the same time. But even what do you call it, guy said, the other birds, the other wildlife will come back. The blackbirds will re-roost, and once they re-roost, they have the same problem trying, once they roost, they're like there forever until you disturb their roosting. That's the only way you can get at them, less than what the biologist said, was to kill a bunch of them, hang them upside down from the trees, and then you're only going to move them from the vicinity where those birds are, and that will cause them to go to other people's homes.
I'm into that too. I don't have an issue with, so far you haven't named anything I don't want.
I have, we've really done some serious work on this. I don't know what to tell anybody.
Maybe if you move them and disturb their roost, they'll go back where they came from.
Well, you know what?
Excuse me, which was the Golden Triangle.
Yeah,
Across the.
You got other
channel.
problems over there.
But no, but what I'm saying is that's where they originally came from.
I think they originally came from Publix. That's where they seem
Oh,
to
the
be over
dumpsters,
there.
yeah, that's.
It's just a hazard place. It really feeds the community of the birds, et cetera, et cetera.
That's
So-
where the roost, they were.
The roosting, they have a season here where they really get intense, and that's because the white birds start having babies, and the alligators come because they want to wait for the eggs and the baby birds to fall into the water. You can listen at night and hear them. Every time one hits the water, it sounds like a jungle out there. And also, they feed off of the dead animals, the scraps and stuff, and they like the eggs too. They like the eggs that are in the nest. So this is a really good breeding place. So once they're set up and they know this is where they eat, they'll come back time after time after time. And I don't know why they say they migrate. You see them just about all year round, correct?
Well, they're not
They don't
migratory
They're not
birds.
migratory. They're just protected by the Migratory Species Act.
Right.
But they're technically not migratory.
So once they're there, they're there. And the only way that I found to do it is to annoy their roosting. They don't like to get up early in the morning and have to fly, because they have blood needs to warm up again. And you keep doing that, after about a week, enough is enough, they won't even bother coming back.
Now is the time then, because it's cold at night.
It freezes, well, it doesn't matter, their blood temperature normally
Yeah,
drops in the
yeah.
evening.
Would drop that much
And
more.
when they run into the houses, they're not only looking for food, they're looking for a place to warm their blood up before they go out looking for food. So it's a two-step deal there.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that your research, which has been quite extensive, has not revealed that as being effective. If you can come up with anything, maybe we can revisit it. If you can come up with anything that might suggest that a method of using, remote radio controlled flying devices will work.
I'm thinking that that's a really good idea. If we could attach, or if they had one that had some type of sound device on it, that you could fly right up to the birds, hit the button and, it's electronically produced, but a loud noise goes off, 5 feet from, I don't think they'll be chasing us down. Are we allowed to spend a lot of money on a drone out of the
I was just
agency?
gonna say, do we know anybody that has a drone?
Ed Jackson.
I don't understand.
I
If
have one
somebody
at the
has
house.
a drone and it gets damaged, then
I'll
you're
tell you,
responsible
they go
for it.
after
I think
it. I've seen it with my own eyes. And that plane was loud and big and smoking, and it didn't scare them one little tiny bit.
Well, I think if we examine it as an alternative, we'd get to their costs and some degree of
It's
effectiveness.
not, maybe that could be researched.
Yeah.
Not only that, you have to take into consideration, if they do attack it and knock it down and it breaks, it's a complete loss.
Where it'd be especially over the water. Dick?
Bombs.
Hold on a second.
Well, that's what China does.
Hold on 1 second. Dick?
Which is involved in this is that you and I had discussed having perhaps an exhibition of pickleball here next month. And I had arranged for the people to give the exhibition to everyone. I called them and canceled that because of the situation with these birds. Because it doesn't make any sense to try to have them come and then have people from the community out there on a Saturday or Sunday with all these birds flying around. So that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Until-
Well, give us a chance to, research this further. It's a big problem that we've been working on for a long time. We thought we had something that might be, a resolution to it, but now we're gonna rethink it and get a further examination of what's out in the island.
I was gonna make,
Well, I don't think
sure
that's
that-
gonna make, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Don't go as well.
Oh, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure that we look at it and approach it correct, right? I just don't want to do
I
anything
think,
stupid.
I think we're on, okay, you're done?
Okay.
I think we're on the right track. I think what we're gonna do, I think we got the guns coming anyway, let's try it. But I think that's gonna be the answer to our problem, I think that's what we're gonna find out at the end. And, I'm done.
Okay. All right. Melanie, did you have any other issues you wanted to raise?
Just the ones, the sign on Lions Road on
Okay.
the east side.
Well, you can bring it up if you want. This will be something for you, Greg.
Yeah, the hedges need to be trimmed down because the 45 miles per hour sign is being cut.
Yes, I had spoken to Jim about that a couple of, maybe 6 months ago. I think what we should do is approach the county and get that sign taken out of our hedges. And, I forget what you had said about that.
The one up on the corner?
But, right on lines, on the other side, where the 45 mile an hour sign is
Oh, yeah,
in our
yeah.
hedge.
Yeah.
If we could just move it down to where the hedge,
Perfect.
does that little angle thing,
We should move it on the street out here.
but in height.
Yeah.
What about, do you think they'd be willing to move it also, or just?
It's worth the talk to them about, they'll either extend it or move it.
You think we could?
Is that something you can handle for us, Jim? Are you gonna contact down there and see if
We'll see if they
they're
can
moving
do
for us?
something for us on that, because I hate to keep bringing that hedge down on that side, because now we almost have the hedges the same height on both sides of the road, which looks much nicer, but,
Okay.
I don't wanna make one of those little cuts.
Yeah.
And if we can get it
Why
moved or
not?
raised, I would love to do that.
Jim will follow up on that. If you'll make a note on that,
I did.
we'll bring it up next week.
And also, in Debbie's, I call it Debbie's Coats. Maybe if you could call Bellagio and see if they could clean it. There's some trash over there.
There's always trash there. It's an ongoing problem. I would like to add also, their plantings in there are getting very thin,
Yeah.
where they have a break in the wall and there's only a fence. Most of the bushes have gone away, and there will be vision between the two communities, and once there's vision,
There's no
there'll be
division.
people.
There's no division.
So
Is that
maybe it's only.
Bellagio or the Bellagio?
Well,
It's Villagio.
Bellagio.
All right, well, I need somebody to step up and make that contact.
I'm just thinking can to can might be the best way to handle it.
Jim?
Maybe I'll be glad to do that, because I work over in Bellagio at least 3 days a week, so if that's an issue, I can think.
What we have is, we're asking property management, company to property management company to handle that and see if we can get that done, you know, professional, talking to professionals. So if that doesn't work, and we need, you know, something behind the scenes, we'll,
We have to do it.
Okay.
Take care of it.
thank you, I appreciate that. Okay,
And one last thing, the
Okay.
post, here's a light post lantern, that's not on top of the post.
this Charlie hands that for us, right,
And
Jim?
Greenbrier, right?
Yeah.
The light
On the
post?
side,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lamp on.
Yeah.
I brought that up, I always thought that that was a temporary post.
The one that's across the street or next door to Christian's,
Yeah.
that was no more than a bridge to
To go
power
across the
wire
road.
across the street.
Mhm.
And I have a list of 8 with that. I wanted to definitely remove that. But we've got 8 lights, either stay on all the time or they blink, or they're not on at all. But I have that list.
Is that the only one in the neighborhood that they have to remove?
Yeah, well, they just put it in there as a temporary thing.
And it's just,
Yeah,
oh,
a
there's
year
no
ago.
electric in
There's
it.
no
Yeah, it's like
electric,
a
it's
year ago.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, just a post.
Okay,
All right, let's try to get them
all right.
to get rid of that for us.
All right, thank you, Melanie.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to stick around, 7:34. Okay. All right, let's move into committee reports, standing committees. The first committee is nominating committee. And Greg, you had some ideas, I don't know if you want to elaborate on the ideas or how to staff the nominating committee or?
Well, initially, I had come up with several different concepts for creating nominating committees, you know, for in the future also, but due to some personal issues, I don't think I'm gonna be able to implement them as I had hoped. But my thought was a lottery system, kind of like you've lost the lottery, you're on the nominating committee kind of situation, where we put all the members, lot numbers into a little computer program. It does a random number generator, and it just pulls out 10 names, and you call them, and you say, you know, you've been randomly selected to join the nominating committee, would you be willing to participate?
Right.
I would think that would be a nice way to do it without having to put anybody on the spot, and it would make it so that it's a much more, you know, natural, I don't know how to describe it. Organic? No, that's not the right word.
Well, I
Grassroots,
think what I know, you and I've had some discussion about this. There's been criticism in the past about nominating committees being kind of stacked, you know, and this would eliminate any allegation of the board stacking a nominating committee if it was
Right.
randomly selected. You know, doing the cold calls, and first come, first serve, we set a number, 2, 3, 4, how many we want on the nominating committee.
Right.
And that would remove any allegations of any impropriety if we did it that way.
Right. And, you know, I wouldn't, obviously, it would not be where if you did not choose to serve, your name would be put in the paper as, you know, Bob Smith declined to be on the nominating committee. Andy Kerr declined to be on the nominating committee.
Well, that might be a good
Well-
idea.
Not if you're the guy who has to write that name down, because you have to dodge and weave a lot at that point.
I think what you said before is the concept of the board setting up a nominating committee has always been one that has been suspect about blowing the nominating committee. My suggestion would be that the board set up a committee outside, no board members to be members of it, have a chairman of that committee. He or she would be responsible for finding those people who would serve on the nominating committee.
It's just another layer though, Dick. If we set up a committee, allegations would fly, that we set up a committee. So I like the idea of the random selection. Is that not a possibility for us now? I mean, I understand that you may not be available to make all these cold calls.
What I need to do is establish a nominating committee tonight to keep in with the covenants being, you know, 90 days greater than the election, and we can add to the nominating committee, and if you want me to try to see if I can, you know, get this together, you know, some type of random thing, I could do that also. And we can add in to the committee, that's not an issue.
Well, do we have recommendations for tonight?
I have at least,
I'm sorry?
I have comments.
Comments? Jack?
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, voice of consent comment that I've already voiced to Greg. I think, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of people in the community who served on the board of directors, asked them to be on the board of directors, and they're just busy doing other things and don't really want to devote the time that's necessary to do it. So I think if, by doing a lottery type of thing, you're gonna put people in a position where they don't wanna say no, but they do wanna say no. I don't think it's very fair, nor do I think that a lot of people in the community are gonna like it. Just my opinion. But let me go ahead and start my campaigning on this issue early. And I think that the nominating committee should be the individuals who, I believe there's 3 or 4 different criteria that we have and that the state has for picking or not, for nominating somebody, and their qualifications such as no existing fines, no past felonies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that the nominating committee should be able to interview the candidates that request to be that. And if a candidate qualifies for what we put up for them to qualify, then they should be all nominated. And if the community would like to find out more about those individuals, they should come to the designated nights or articles in the papers, or the ability to send out letters on what you're campaigning for, what you think you can do for the community, and your viewpoints on what you have to add to the board of directors, and allow the people to vote on each individual on merit. Because I still will say, I believed it when I came in here, I believe it today. If I turned around and said, I think that he's going to be a good nominee, and he's going to be a good nominee, and she's going to be a good nominee, there's a lot of people that do not take the time and effort to find out who the individual they're electing to the board is, what their politics are, or what they're all about. But they've lived here for a long time. So the next thing they go to is, oh, the nominating committee nominated him, he must be the man. And a lot of votes are given to individuals that are not deserving of those votes based on their principles and their merits and their true wanting to represent the community as a whole. And I believe if we start taking that type of an approach to our nominating committee, and again, set up those qualifications, make sure the nominating committee approves those, and then all individuals are approved, and then they can run the campaign on their own. And I believe that's a fair way to handle it. I'd like to see us turn in that direction.
I agree.
What I'm hearing you say is something that we've said for years, is that the nominating committee's recommendations contained on the ballots results in an endorsement.
Absolutely.
And that's how the votes are cast. So even though our bylaws allow for that to happen, it doesn't mean that we have to put the nominating committee's recommendations or nominations, for that matter. You know, the nominating committee has a multitude of responsibilities, and some of those are making sure we have enough candidates to fill the vacancies. And there's always the possibility that this year we have 4 vacancies coming up. And we may only have 3 candidates. So without a nominating committee, who's running? You know, we want the nominating committee to actually nominate people that will represent the community well. And we can put those, once they do that, we may have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 at that point running, and we don't have to include it on the ballot as an endorsement. That way, nobody knows the recommendations of the nominating committee. All they know is we have sufficient number of candidates to fill the vacancies. So that may resolve your concerns.
I think it's a big step to giving the community the ability to pick who they really, really want based on an intelligent decision based on the merit of the individual.
Well, some of the problems in the past have been that you would only get a 1-page bio from the candidate, but we've not had candidate nights where, you know, we can invite the community here and have a candidate come up and give them 5, 10, 15 minutes.
We have the ability as a board of directors to structure that?
Sure. I have no reason not to believe we can. We have a candidates night We highly publicize it, and if people want to be informed voters, they'll come and they'll hear the candidate's pitch as to why they should be elected.
Give each candidate a page in the paper and have it sent to each member's home.
Well, I like the idea of the public forum because you can have Q&A as well.
I have a question. Do we not already have volunteers for that committee, for the nominating committee?
Not yet, would you like to
Yes, we
volunteer?
do. Because last month, I nominated Judy Leeds, and she was approved.
Which wasn't approved, but we
Well-
recognized the fact that
Yeah.
she had an interest in being on the nominating committee. I thought you as well. You-
No.
You didn't, know?
No. I-
Janet, you wanted to be on the nominating committee, right? So we do have,
That's two.
Two out of two of the locations.
Why don't we pick the guideline for the nominating committee and then people can see what they're volunteering?
Ms. Atkins
Missy,
would like to be on that nominating committee as well. So, we do have,
I agree with Jackie that if people meet the criteria,
They should
Then
be,
they
the
should-
nominating committee
they
should approve
should
that.
be on the ballot without any recommendation from anybody.
It's not necessary for the board to recommend
Right.
it.
I think.
I've lobbied for that for years, so you'll be an
Yes.
argument for me.
No.
I gotta stay.
I think what you said, Andy, is the criteria by which the nominating committee must work.
Yeah, we fully plan on, and, we've had some discussion on that individually, putting together a set of guidelines, because historically, the nominating committee worked on, and I know this for a fact, that they've worked on hearsay. And, either nominated somebody or didn't nominate somebody based on somebody said something to somebody, and they overheard it, and didn't even know if the person was qualified.
I'm saying that the criteria which you established would be the criteria by which the nominating committee
Yes.
says this person is qualified.
We're going to have, for the nominating committee to proceed, we're going to have a written set of instructions for them this year. That, not only we can use this year, but hopefully that future boards will embrace that as well, if not the exact verbiage, the concept of instruction to the nominating committee so they know what the heck they're supposed to do. So that's forthcoming, for sure.
And in the last 4 years, and I've asked this question at a couple of board meetings, it was never brought up, does anybody want to volunteer for that committee? It was always people were appointed for that committee, but it was never at a meeting where somebody raised their hand and
Yeah,
said,
well, we put it in the
Right.
newsletters and everything.
No,
We haven't
but
gotten
in
any
the past-
volunteers, so.
in the past, that was not the case.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah,
this,
it's not.
we work differently.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Needs to be worked with.
I understand. So,
So that's another job for you.
that's what we, and that's what we have facing us tonight. So, Greg, what's your recommendation? How do you want to proceed?
In regards to exactly what? Setting written rules, picking.
No, that's a given. The written rules,
Missy or?
the written rules are a given. I mean, you and I have discussed coming up with those guidelines so that they know what their job is and how they should proceed and what the guidelines are. That's a given. That's forthcoming. We're going to do that before they do anything. How do you want to proceed tonight with the nominating committee staffing?
Well, we have 3 people that are volunteering to be on the nominating committee tonight. We can vote them in. That will staff the nominating committee, and then the committee can look at seeing if they would like to come up with a way possibly to put that lottery into written form and how we might execute it, and then increase the rolls by then, though. That'll be something that committee would have to look
You
at.
mean up to 2 more people on the committee?
Yeah, before the next board meeting, I mean, unless the committee thinks 5 people is enough. I wanted to be
3.
open.
We only have 3.
Well, 4, technically.
Who?
It really doesn't matter how many
Oh,
people,
you. Okay.
And 3
No, no,
members.
no.
it doesn't matter how many people you put on the committee, if the committee has guidelines to approve or not approve. You can get the same results if one person's on the committee, if they're just checking criteria and making sure that that person is safe to go out.
Yeah, we have no restrictions on the number of people that need to be on the
Yeah,
committee.
so-
We have 3
I would say-
volunteers at this point.
Right, and what I would do is go ahead and put those parameters together, and then allow whoever in the community wants to be part of this to become part of this.
No, they have to be voted in, they can't just be on it.
Make a motion for that.
Or have a pre-meeting
How would
with
we do
those
this?
3 people and decide
I'm
if
gonna
they
put
think that they
Janet-
need more people.
Missy and Judy, and myself obviously, onto the nominating committee. And allow the committee to take a look at how they may want to approach either getting more people on that committee or making it so that in the future, the committee is more easily created.
Oh, that's fine, that can be a recommendation to the board. But we don't need that till next year.
Right.
So this year will be
This
set.
year will be the way, just like we're suggesting, we'll get 3 people or whatever it is, 4 people in total onto the nominating committee. I like the idea of the interview process, I like the idea of meet the candidate night, I like the idea of putting the candidates' little things in the newsletter. I do not like the idea of the candidates being endorsed by the nominating committee. You're either on the ballot or you're not on the ballot. If you're on the ballot, it's because the nominating committee has determined that you are eligible, according to Florida statute, to serve on the board of directors of this community. Now, at this point, you don't have to be a resident, a member, anything to be on the board of directors in this community.
Right.
Literally, you could be a guy who lives in North Dakota, who has a little extra time and has the same name as somebody who lives here, and you can be elected.
Well, that's part of the document change that we're going to endeavor to do. I mean,
But you
that's-
still can't be a felon and.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll set all that criteria, but let's do it this way. Right now, I'll entertain a motion to set the nominating committee up. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the
Have we
motion.
finished discussion?
Let's get a motion and a second on the table.
And then you can discuss.
Go ahead and make the motion on the second.
I'd like to make a motion and set up the nominating committee this evening, and then proceed to discuss the staffing.
Well, actually,
Well, setting
motion
up
for
would be
staff.
staffing.
Okay, well,
Do you want to make a motion to staff the nominating committee? That's what I'm looking for. Anybody? Seeing none,
What was?
I'm looking for a motion here to staff.
Oh, then we had started, you didn't wanna.
You changed your mind.
Oh, all right, I'll make a motion to nominate Janet Duncan, Missy Atkins, and Judy Leeds to the nominating committee.
Okay, I have a motion on the table for 3 people to be placed on the nominating committee. Do I have a second?
I second, let's discuss.
I have a motion and a second, open for discussion. Jack?
Before I go ahead and vote, I would like to have some clear understanding at this point, whether the board of directors is going to put together the approach for the nominating committee, or the board of directors and the committee are going to put together the approach for the nominating.
Put together what? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
The approach for the nominating committee, what are the guidelines for the nominating committee?
Guidelines for the nominating committee were going to be established by the board and voted on the board.
Okay, but Graham just said we should let the committee set the guidelines.
Well, the committee's going to set the guidelines for
Interpret
establishing
and implement.
a nominating committee in the future. Is that right, Gary? Not the guidelines on how to proceed.
Don't you think
I
that's
think-
your job for the board of directors?
Yes, I do. That's why I'm saying, the board of directors will investigate statute, our governing documents, come up with a set of guidelines and instructions for our nominating committee to proceed. So they know what their job is, they know what to proceed. They know what the criteria is, and what the restrictions are.
That was my concern.
Okay, but before they proceed with their
No
job.
offense, ladies, it's not that I don't value your opinion at all, but I think this is the responsibility of a board of directors to say, listen, this is what's going to be involved, these are the decisions that you're going to have to make, whatever they may be, based on what the board cares to see. And therefore, then you have the ability to turn around and say, you know what, I want to be on that committee. Not come on the committee and we'll figure out what to do afterwards. Because you might find yourself making decisions that you don't want to make. I find myself all the time.
I'm a little confused. Are we talking about putting in a nominating committee or what the job of the nominating committee is for the
The
people?
motion on the table is to staff the nominating committee.
Okay,
Before the nominating committee
It's given these
is,
guidelines.
it does anything, they're going to be given a set of guidelines established by the board
for what?
to proceed with their job on what we expect them to do, what their mission is,
What the guidelines?
what the guidelines are, who is, what they have to do to establish eligibility
To be
for a
nominated.
candidate.
Who are running, okay.
Running, yes, not for the nominating committee.
Okay, that's where I was confused.
And what I'm doing is questioning the chairman of that committee on, is the board going to be making these guidelines and decisions? Or are we bringing the whole community in to make these guidelines? Or bringing certain individuals and saying, okay, you guys tell us how you want to run this stuff?
No, I thought part of that was in our articles of incorporation and our bylaws.
We need a document, in my opinion, and I think Greg's too, because we've discussed this. We need a document, we need a set of written guidelines so that the nominating committee knows how to proceed and what we expect them to achieve. All
I
right?
believe that was, so it's not redundant, I believe that was established last year.
Not to my knowledge.
Last year, they didn't have a nominating committee last year.
There was 3 people on the nominating committee, they never met, they never did anything.
No.
Well, but I'm saying that the guidelines for the nominating committee to implement, wait a minute, were established so that the people that nominated themselves and presented a bio could follow those guidelines. So I think if you do some research,
Those guidelines,
You
the
might
one about
There's no guidelines.
presenting the bio,
you might see that it is there.
That's
What-
insane.
what the-
Jim, do you have any recollection of any
what the board
guidelines?
was looking for.
Well, one of the things is with respect to a bio, it says 8.5 by 11 single sheet.
Right,
Yeah.
not in violation of fines.
Yeah, and I think that what Jack is saying is that because he wanted to see fairness, that a committee who is going to review these bios of the people who want to run are not my buddy or your buddy, but someone who has an interest in the community's benefit, to the benefit of the community.
In relation to that, just one question. Those persons like tonight, if you put them on the board, you say you want to go ahead and set it up, and you put them on the board, do they meet an established criteria already to be?
Thank
No,
you.
the board is
No.
going to make the
Well,
criteria.
that's what I mean, so if you're
Well,
gonna
that's the
assign
question I wanted to
somebody,
ask.
It's going to
if
be.
you're gonna assign somebody tonight, then you're gonna create criteria based on those 3 or 4 persons that who are assigned tonight.
No,
Because they have to meet that committee's.
no, I thought the committees
No.
were for the applicants, the residents who want to run. I thought that's where the criteria was.
Yeah, but there's-
These are not candidates to run for the board.
So there's no qualifications for the persons.
To be on the
On-
nominating committee.
Correct.
All I'm asking is that if they're going to be on the nominating committee, they know what the task is. Before the nominating committee picked 3 or 4 out of a field of 8.
No, I think that everybody
They
who
did that
meets
before.
eligibility, whether
Should be
picked
nominated.
or not,
Right.
should be available for people to vote.
Exactly. So some people, you guys are gonna have to sit there and say, okay, these are the guidelines they gave me. Oh, by the way, I think that's nonsense. That guy shouldn't really have to do that. Then you might not wanna be on that committee. Maybe they shouldn't
I'm
meet
not
No, no,
that.
no, I think the guidelines, are you're gonna decide.
Let me just clear something up.
Right. that's
If
what I'm-
somebody wants to run, whether the nominating committee likes them, doesn't like them, or anything, they're going on the ballot.
Exactly.
As long as they meet the requirements, that they're not behind in dues, that they're not convicted felons or anything like
We're all
that.
on the same page.
Okay.
Nobody's
Yeah.
not on the same page. The only thing that I'm challenging is, are we bringing on a committee and saying, okay, let's come up with those guidelines? Or are we gonna come up with those guidelines and say, these are the guidelines, you still wanna be on the committee?
No, we're not gonna ask them if they still want to be on the committee. What we're gonna do is, they want to be on the committee. We're gonna give them, we're gonna feed them information so they can go forth on their mission. We're gonna tell them what we expect them to do, and we're gonna tell them that these are the guidelines, these
What
are the
is their
things that
mission?
you have to look for.
What is their mission?
Their mission is to ensure that we have enough candidates to fill
And they're all on the
the
same
vacancies.
That's the number one.
That's number one, that's what it is.
And they're all on the same level platform. There is no
Uh,
endorsement. They meet 5 qualifications. They're not in arrears, whatever.
I
Those
don't have a
qualifications.
problem, matter of fact, I would welcome that. I just was trying to pay respect to you guys and let you know that before you get in the
Well, once
situation,
they volunteer, then
well, you have to make that decision.
That's the bottom line.
Yes, Dick?
Two observations. Number one, in the past, each one of the subdivisions of this particular organization has been represented on the nominating committee. The 3 people who are nominated tonight do not represent all 3 of the different, so there's nothing written that says that you have to have one. I'm just saying.
Right. And there's nothing written that says it has to be 3.
That's right.
So, what do we have here? We have Greenbrier,
Two Greenbriers.
and, no, we have 2 Greenbriers, yes, 2 Greenbriers and a Lexington. We have nobody from St. Andrews. So, if we have somebody from St. Andrews that wants to step up and be on this, we have no volunteers other than these 3.
Okay, there is a lady who has approached me from St. Andrews who wishes to volunteer. I can give you that particular name as Judy Goldsmith. She has volunteered to be on the nominating committee, and she lives in St. Andrews. Second observation, if you want to set up guidelines and so forth, it should be reasonably easy to do. State law has so many,
Yes.
paragraphs.
And this is where we're gonna get the guidelines from. But
And secondly-
rather than tell 3 people on the board to review state statute and our documents,
No.
we're gonna synopsize that, we're gonna capsulize it, and we're gonna say, here it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it easy for you.
Right, I'm saying to you that there are all kinds of homeowners associations that have guidelines already established, which if you want to save yourself time.
Do you have access to that?
Yes,
Please secure those and forward them to me as soon as you possibly can.
sure,
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
no problem.
For tonight, we have a motion on the table for 3 people to be appointed to the nominating committee, and I have a second. Any further discussion by the board?
I'd like to see.
I thought we might have another 4.
No, I don't have that name, but we have a motion for tonight. We can establish this committee, and we can always do that at another time.
Okay.
Yes, no?
I'd like to have to see the criteria first.
The criteria is going to be set kind of by state statute in our governing documents, so it has existed always.
Okay.
Okay, it's just that the information has never been capsulized for instruction to a nominating committee historically. And they've never really known what to do. And in my discussions with the nominating committee members in the past years, they really didn't know what to do. They would just kind of listen to somebody's rumor here and there, and they didn't really know what their mission was, and they came up with 3 names, and we stuck them on the ballot, and that was the end of that. So we're going to try and professionalize it a little bit this year, and compile the information that has always been there, but give it to them as guidelines for their mission, for their procedures. That's all.
But the guidelines will be established by the full board of directors, right?
All right, but I have another question.
If we do it by the full board of directors, we're going to have to do this at the February meeting.
Yeah.
I want Melody to be able to ask the questions.
No, we'll establish the nominating committee tonight, if we vote yes.
And how will we determine if they have a criminal background?
Well, it's not the nominating committee.
I
It's
guess
the people who are.
Good,
the
we
people-
could, I mean, I don't know how much they need to do between now and February, mid-February sometime, whatever the date is, so I don't know how much they really need to do.
Well, questionnaire should be put together for the individual candidate that wants to run anyway, and that should be a question on that.
What, say that again, please?
Don't you think that we should have, for people that want to run, some kind of questionnaire that answers the basic questions that meet our criteria, such as, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
But is it for the person who's running for the board or the committee?
Well, the person running for the board.
Run for board.
I said nothing. Oh, that's a great idea, I mean, that's something that we could certainly
One of the
do.
criteria, candidate must fill out an application. and gives us things that we want. Do you have any existing fines that haven't been paid to the community?
We don't have enough people that here.
Look at that delinquent notice. No,
That's why I didn't want to-
look, an application's a great idea.
Let me tell you.
It's just a matter of somebody doing it, somebody putting it together.
I'm not arguing with the point, really, I enjoy the concept and the support. I just don't want to put the cart before the horse, I mean, or before the horse.
Okay, our governing documents require us to put a nominating committee together 90 days before the election. I would love to do that
It
tonight.
doesn't require the nominating committee to do anything
No.
until 20 days
That's
before the
right.
election.
So we have fulfilled the obligation by our governing documents, which this board has endeavored to follow the bylaws to the T, to the letter.
Thank you.
So we're trying to do that tonight. We do that tonight, we establish that we still have some time to put together a set of guidelines to help the nominating committee fulfill their mission.
Okay.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear.
Okay.
I'm ready for vote.
Yes, no.
No,
Okay. You have any?
that's
All right,
it.
thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, any further discussion from the community? Seeing none, call vote.
Does she vote?
She's gonna vote.
She didn't vote, Priscilla? You want to grab her and see if she wants to vote?
I'll ask her.
Not necessary, but
Ron, Margaret,
I can't run.
she has some place to be, don't bring her back.
Melanie, they're gonna call the vote. Do you want to vote yes or no? To
Judy,
nominating
Janet,
committee
whatever.
and the board of
Judy,
trustees will-
Just staff, just staff.
Staff,
Judy.
staff to nominate,
Judy needs,
And
and
Janet.
Jan's done.
okay? She said okay.
Vote yes?
Yes? Yes.
Okay, so Melanie said yes.
Reginald Dale. Greg Trio, yes. Jack Lombardi.
Yes.
Debbie Schmody. Andy Kerr.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Excellent, congratulations to the nominating committee.
that's great.
Now get to work.
Okay, well, we're gonna set up a
Well, it should be
little
more than 5 or 6
thing. We'll let you
different
guys
things on
know what
that
we're
list.
doing.
Okay, what's going on?
Okay,
Hopefully, and we're
Recreation Committee, Debbie, anything to report?
No, this is fine.
Okay. Maintenance Committee, Greg Tria, what's he got for us?
You know, I have a lot, but I'm just gonna knock it down to the one thing. So I had, a company come in and give us, some concept drawings for the sign.
Okay,
You know, unfortunately, before I can get a price from this gentleman, he wants me to give him an okay on the design.
okay,
So I have left copies of the designs out on the tables for you guys to look at.
is it one page or two?
There's 2 pages. There are 2 different signs, you guys have to share. They're big. Okay, now there's two signs. There's a small monument sign, which is 6 foot wide, 4 foot tall. That would be for each corner of the community. 2 at Greenbrier, 2 on Perth, 2 on Canada, 2 on North Calumet. For a total of 6. And then there's one large one, which can either be in addition to those or supplement those, and that large one would go someplace like where the tennis court area is, where we own the property out here, where we could put electric and everything else, we don't have to worry about asking permission to put stuff on anybody's property. Or, sorry, so you have the option A, you put the 6 signs on the corners, 6 by 4. Option B, you put one large sign somewhere on our property on this side, like by the tennis court area. Choice C, you use the 6 and the large one. And of course, you know, choice D is don't do anything.
The large one is very large. I thought you were going to change the,
I was, but I got lazy. I really wasn't doing anything this week. I pretty much just went to sleep and relaxed. So
Well, what are the numbers that we were talking about?
Well, it's not so much numbers, it is ratios, okay? When you're just looking at the widths and the heights, you say, okay, it's gonna be twice as wide as it is tall, you know, and we may find that obviously 30-foot wide could be a little wide. Well, it's just a little shorter than that wall length, I think would be a fine size. We couldn't fit that sign in this room right now. It'd be a little too tall.
That's why we were good on reduced the ratio.
Yeah, just whichever number you want to pick, you know, if we want 20 feet wide maximum,
So what you're looking for is a concept tonight, A, B, or C?
yeah.
Okay.
And that we like the idea of that monument style. It would have the top shape like the one that we have out front. You know, it's a gentler slope, it's not so hard of a circle. You know, that's like a half circle, and ours is more like a quarter, you know, as it flows in, so it's a little gentler. The colors, what?
It's only 6 feet, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's not that big. It looks a lot bigger than that, doesn't it?
it's only a foot wide. The coloring I would make, you know, at least get the quote based on the color of the sign out front, which the brown background, gold lettering with almond, you know, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
The larger one, I would reduce, you know, to a reasonable size. You know, the guy is here asking me how big do you want. I'm in the parking lot, I don't know how big I want the sign. Go 30 feet wide, 15 feet tall. You know, twice as wide as it is tall. And
Watch
you mean,
movies on it.
All right, so I think reasonably speaking here, you'd be more like 15 to 20 feet wide, something like that. That's I think, a lot more reasonable.
And then divide those 3 panels into